It's the late summer, and I think it's time for a tour, man.
Oh, Pittsburgh soil.
So I feel it is tradition around here to actually start these tour videos out with my tallest sunflower. This is easily 17 feet tall. If you were to stretch out everything, I don't know what it is about my soil or what it is about these seeds, but they absolutely love the summertime here. This is one of, let's say, 5 giant sunflowers I have all around the yard. And every year, it's always like an expected thing, so it's like a sight to see. I just wish that the deer didn't eat so many, because the plan was to have a wall of these babies going straight up. But I am certainly happy with these behemoths. So let's go ahead and start the official tour off at the very top of the yard to talk about a patch that is very little by nature. Oh, it is a very, very hot day here in beautiful Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. About a high of 88 degrees. If you are outside at any time that it's very hot, please drink water, take breaks, and don't think about your very tiny corn cobs, man. I don't know what happened over here. I want to blame the early weather of the season because it did rain for about 2 months straight. Rain that had never happened here before, at least in the amounts of rain. And I don't know if it really affected the corn in that's such a negative way, or it was, human hand. It was these hands right here who maybe put the corn in a little bit too late. I really think I should have taken the gamble early on in May and just put the plants out there, even though the night temperatures were still damping down. I have seen around the yard a bit of like plant dwarfism, and that is what I am going to attribute to my little baby corn. They're so skinny. And I'm actually starting to see like little cobs here in the back, and I don't know if they'll eventually grow to full size, but I'm going to do what I can to keep this little corn patch going. I at least know that my protections have held up. So far there hasn't been any type of like pest damage, so if this year doesn't work out with nice juicy cobs, then I gotta look forward to next year. All right, so here we are inside of the Brassica bed. It has been such a pleasure to actually see this bed work out and grow the way I thought it should. This is how I imagined my Brassica beds for the last couple summers. And because of the animal pressure that I suffer around here, I just wasn't able to get it. So the decision to enclose my 3 separate beds into this one giant Mother Bertha bed has actually worked out so well. My kale, of course, is doing amazing. My collards are a little eaten up, I'm not gonna lie. There has certainly been a good amount of insect pressure still. I wrapped this entire bed with an insect netting, but I am still seeing, the white cabbage moth. I am still seeing the harlequin beetle, which has certainly been munching on these plants, which I can tell, but there hasn't been much bird pressure. I know there is one little tiny bird that I see in here every other morning, but other than that, the plants are fairly healthy. I certainly have been sticking to the regimen of getting in here, spraying down the plant, consistently checking on them. But one thing I haven't been doing is harvesting as I should. One, because I knew I was going to shoot this video, and 2, I've been kind of lazy. It's been really hot and humid, and sometimes you don't want to be in the garden, and that's totally fine. Take breaks. You are a hard working home gardener. Your plants are going to be fine. Obviously. So here, filling up my other 2 beds of brassicas, I have some more kale. Of course, I have some very young bok choy and some more collards up under here. Because we're going to be moving into this, the cooler season, this entire bed all the way down should do extremely well, if not even better than what it's doing now, because the bug pressure is actually going to start to wean off. There has been studies to show that a lot of these like summertime insects that give us a lot of problems, they really lay their last batch of eggs towards the end of August, because they know, just because of nature, that it's going to start getting cold, and they're going to start dying off. So as long as you can keep your brassicas alive now until it starts to get cold, you should be in great shape. And there's also a great time to actually put in some more young brassicas, but make sure they're not too much in full sun because we are certainly still in deadly heat, which is why I have my young okra over here. I have a potted okra that is a little bit bigger than this, but these are actually starting to put out little pods already, which I don't know is a good thing or not, but I'm gonna go ahead and let these babies ride on. It takes about, I don't know, 45, 50 days for okra. So I planted these maybe a month ago. I think I'll do all right. At least my fingers are crossed. Right behind me, I have some more wonderful Swiss chard because, again, I love the colors. I love having chard in the garden always. Again, another plant that is going to do extremely well in these cooler weathers. And I actually haven't been staying up on this. I have some nice tall stalks here for some nice stir fry or whatever the hell I'm going to do with them. And here in the fifth bed behind all the brassicas here in Big Mother Bertha, I have some wonderful cucumbers that are going pretty well. I believe these are the burpless cucumbers. They are getting nice and fat back here. This has been a magnificent year for all of the cucumbers, which is what I actually wanted. I needed some redemption after last year and after suffering from the cucumber beetle, which I am not noticing as much this year. As I said in the last video, I don't know if it's because I spread the cucumbers throughout the yard or what it is, but they are doing very well. And I actually haven't been keeping up on them as much as I should. If you have a good amount of cucumbers growing on your plant, make sure that you are taking these cucumbers off, because as soon as they get real big, they start to turn yellow, and then the plant thinks it's time to die. So the more that you harvest, the longer that your cucumber is certainly going to stay alive. And right next to this very fruitful cucumber are these very special pole beans. These are the Chinese red noodle pole beans, and I have never grown these. I don't think I've ever eaten these, but look how sexy they are. They are all over the place too. Very productive, very fruitful. I believe you don't want them to get much longer than this, which is, I don't know, longer than my forearm. And these are actually beans that kind of look like black eyed peas, but they have more of a red center instead of that black eye center. I think they're very tasty dry. I still have yet to cook with them, but I can't wait. I am growing my pantry inside, and these are going to be such a great addition. Plus, I imagine because it is so prolific that it's going to continue to grow all through the rest of the season. So it's such a beautiful thing to see new plants in the garden that you have never grown before, Now, a quick word from today's sponsor. Did you know that ages 0 to 3 are some of the most developmental years for kids' association with what food is? And one of the worst things that we do is feed our kids packeted, smushed up nothingness. Don't believe me? Here's a Business Insider video that I won't play because of copyright. And one of the best things we can do is actually give our young children real fruit so they can play with it in their hands, so they can better associate it, as well as helping them learn what real fruits and vegetables look like, which you can do today with my coloring book, ABCs in the Garden. This 32-page double-laid children's coloring book came from these same hands that are putting plants in the ground. I want to thank everybody that has already purchased a copy and have sent me photos and videos of the children in their lives learning from my book. I am so appreciative. And if you would like to share the wonders of gardening with the children in your lives through a coloring book, you can go ahead and check the Amazon link below. Now back to the garden. All right, so here we are in the original big bed, where there has actually been a lot of disappointments. This is the bed that has housed the well-documented blight tomatoes, which are slightly recovering. There is certainly some growth at the top. that has not been affected, but the rest of the plant is still affected. I have a good amount of new tomato plants in here, but they're still going through that little bit of transplant shock. It's been about 90 degrees for the last couple of days, so certainly hasn't been the best for brand new tomatoes in the ground, but I think they're going to make a recovery. I mean, I have a good amount of fruit, and any other suckers that I take off of these plants, I'm certainly going to put them inside of the greenhouse. One, because the season, is coming down, and I just think they'll be better protected inside the greenhouse, and they probably grow a bit faster just because the heat elevation. But here on the other side of the tomatoes, I actually have my nice little pepper patch. Pepper, squash, and eggplant fill this space up. Right here, I have some very young peppers that are starting to come in. These aren't as thick as I certainly want them to be, but they are producing fruit. I think that as long as I keep up on the harvest, that all of the new growth will continue to grow, as it should. But if I keep big peppers on here, I think I'm going to stunt the growth even more, except for little plants like this, which I believe is my chili plant. Let's go ahead and try it out. That is hot. That is hot. Immediately. Oh, man. Okay. So I'm going to take off a little bit of these chilies because I realized I haven't made salsa all summer. And tonight I am going to change that. So these little baby chilies, even though they are green, they are going to do very well. One of the best things about pepper plants is you can actually eat them at any stage. Whether they're green, yellow, or red, a pepper is a pepper. The only thing that's really going to change is possibly the spice density, or the, what do they call it? The Scoville level, that's what it is. And right alongside the peppers, I actually have some very young bush beans that I believe we're going to do pretty well as soon as the temperatures start to go down a little bit. Again, these 90-degree days for these very new plants actually doesn't help them out much. They tend to struggle in this very extreme heat, so I'm not surprised by the small amount of growth going on here. And then right behind it, I have some very bodacious looking eggplants. Over the last year or so, I have certainly fallen in love with eggplants. This thing is stubborn. They seem to be such a versatile cook. You can do so many things when cooking your eggplants that I absolutely love. You can sear them up. You can fry them up just a bit. You can bread them. You can put them in all types of dishes, and it just soaks up the flavor of most of the things that you have, and I can't get enough, honestly. So here we are inside of the very fruitful greenhouse. Just in the 2 to 3 weeks since I posted that greenhouse tour video, all of the plants that I listed in that video have fruited like prolifically. I am in love with this absolute sight of luscious green in here. It's just like this entire wall is taken over by vining plants, mostly cucumbers and melons. The back here is taken up by this tomato that I forgot I fit in, but it is actually starting to give me big, luscious fruits that need to come off. And I'm so happy that I put these early tomatoes here in the greenhouse, of course, because I suffered that blight outside. So these are my absolute best tomatoes here in the greenhouse. I also have another red Chinese pole bean that is just starting to take off, and you can tell these are very young because there's no pea pods in here. It's just like a wonderful burgundy bean right now. And the one thing that I certainly need to keep up on, are my cucumbers. Like I said before, you want to stay up on them because every cucumber that you take off this plant is going to extend your plant's life by so much. I even have cucumbers growing on the outside against the kind of protection cage, just because the vines are absolutely crazy. All over this entire greenhouse is absolutely covered, and I love it because towards the end of the month, I'm actually going to wrap this baby halfway back up so I could keep in the rest of the summer heat, so all the rest of the plants can actually extend their lives just a bit more. Now, moving forward in the greenhouse, I have to talk about this incredible squash plant. This thing is easily over 20 feet tall, and it is the white scallop squash that has crawled all over my greenhouse. For the longest time, I could not tell what type of squash would really want to grow that tall. But this answers all the questions of what happens if you let a squash plant grow freely. It will absolutely cover the entire space that you let it. And it's actually been like a joy to watch. It's not bothering me at all. The leaves do some very interesting protection methods. During the very early in the morning, they look like regular leaves to where, they're kind of sticking up and, they look normal. But as soon as it gets hot in the afternoon, they begin to like umbrella over. So every other day, I have to look outside to make sure that it's the plant just doing its thing and there's not some type of disease or some type of infestation going on, because I've never had these white scallops, but I am so excited to cook with them and to also have a ton more because I have a ton of flowers on this tall ass plant. And here inside the standing greenhouse bed, I am very happy to report the wonderful growth of all of my tomatoes. Because of all the tomato heartaches that I am suffering from the outside, the best thing for my eyes to see is an entire plant that is doing very well and giving me the size of the tomatoes that I, am actually expecting. This seems to be the mother plant of all the working tomatoes, all the ones who haven't suffered any blight. The replacements that I have in the big bed actually came from this plant right here, and it is because it is so prolific. I actually need to do a better job at harvesting because I shouldn't let my tomatoes go red on the plant. That is essentially just taking energy away from the little baby ones that are still trying to develop. So without this tomato plant, I would be entirely so sad, but because it is so prolific and it actually is still putting out big suckers that I didn't catch earlier in the season, I am still able to clone this plant and extend, my season, because any more tomatoes that are going in the ground are certainly coming inside of the greenhouse because, everything is doing so damn well in here. And that, my dear friends, is a nice little beginning of August tour and a slight little harvest. I didn't think I was going to get this much. This is actually a pretty heavy crate now. I wanted to thank everybody for joining me on this little grocery trip in my backyard. You feel me? There are so many steps that have to go from now, because after harvest, you can either pickle, you can ferment, you can do so many different things to actually save your food. So if any of you would like to hear me talk about that, please leave a comment below. I have this very special pickling method that I do to make the most wonderful pickles. Again, if you would like to see that, please let me know. I'm starting to realize which videos do well, which videos don't. So I love some feedback, and we'd love to hear with wonderful viewers like yourself would actually like to see, in the garden. If you would like to support the channel, please check out both my links below, either for the children's coloring book or for my gardening hat. If I have given you any type of value through this video or any other video, please consider donating to the channel. I would certainly appreciate it. So again, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. And until then, I'll be here harvesting, baby.
Oh, Pittsburgh.